Hey folks, welcome back to a unit on area of polygons. We're going to continue with the lesson on parallelograms and triangles. In the previous lesson, we talked about the area of a parallelogram and some information about area in general. And we're going to continue with the area of a triangle. Let's take a look at notes. Whee! So we have our note. Now we're going to talk about the area of a triangle. Please remember that area is like surfacey stuff. And we get that from dimensions of things. So now we're talking about the triangle. In the previous lesson, we talked about the area of a parallelogram being just base times height. Now we have the area of a triangle. Well, did you know that a triangle just happens to be half of a quadrilateral? So if we take any parallelogram, right, which we know the area is base times height, right, and we cut it in half, swank, we'll have two congruent triangles, right? Two congruent triangles. So the area then would be half of the area of one triangle would be half of the area of the parallelogram. So the area of any triangle, of course, 1/2 base times height. The challenge is, again, corresponding height. So we saw this in the previous video. We'll see it again here. It's in respect to the base. So if you're looking at your specific base, the height is perpendicular. The altitude is perpendicular to the base. So what if we took this triangle here and kind of like cockeyed it a little bit, right? So we have our triangle. Where's the height now? Here's our base, but the perpendicular is hard to see. So we have to remember where the height could be. The height sometimes could be, you know, quote unquote, outside the triangle. But remembering what altitude is and what height is, the formula for the area of a triangle is half the base times the height, because it is half of a parallelogram. Two congruent triangles. All right, rolling. Let's do some work, man. So we got to be careful with area, and we get to talk about dimensions in this example. So here we go. Let's say we want to make a triangular sail like the one on the right. Hi, sail. How many square feet of material do you need? Notice square feet of material. That's a surfacey question, and so we're going to talk about area. We're going to talk about area. Now we have to be careful with some stuff. We'll get that in a second. So what are we looking at? We have 12 foot 2 inches. I'll redraw this so it might be easier to see on the thing. So the height here is 12 feet 2 inches, and the base is 13 feet 4 inches. Okay, so hopefully you saw the way I did feet and inches, by the way. That's a helpful tip. And we're going to find the area of the triangle. So remember what area is. The area of a triangle is 1/2 the base times the height. But what's going on with these measurements? We have feet and inches. Ha! We should probably convert everything to inches. So let's remember how conversions work. So careful conversions. 12 inches equals 1 foot. You guys remember that? Okay, good. So let's convert everything into inches. So if we have 12 feet 2 inches, that means we want to work in total inches. That's 144 inches, and that's 2 inches. So what we're really looking at is 144 inches high. Okay? And then the base is 13 times 12, and then adding the other 4. Oh, that's not 144. I meant 146. Why don't you guys catch me on that? 146 there. So 13 feet times 12, and then we add our 4. This is 160 inches. Okay, so we converted everything into inches, and I almost made a mistake. Hopefully you were paying attention. So that's 146 inches tall and 160 inches at the base. So the area, of course, is 1/2 the base times the height. 1/2 of 160 times 146. Not bad. Okay, so there's a couple ways that you can do this really quickly. One thing is half of 160 is 80. Hopefully you know that. So we're going to do 146 times 80. No matter what, we're getting 11,680. Okay? So the area is 11,680. Now, we talked about this in the last video. I'm going to talk about it again. 11,680 what? Remember, we were dealing in inches, right? So this 160 was inches, and this 146 was inches. So it's 11,680 inches squared. So we have to be careful, because now we're going to figure out how many square feet of material do we need. This is in square inches. We need square feet. So how do we go from square inches to square feet? How is that going to work? Let's talk about that. Shall we? Yes. This is really important stuff I'm about to talk about, so pay attention. Now remember our careful conversions. Well, 12 inches is 1 foot. Well, what about 12 squared? How's that going to work? Well, if we have 12 squared, we'd have inches squared, and that would be 1 squared foot squared. What? Mr. Katz, what are you talking about? Well, 12 squared inches squared is 1 squared foot squared. So 12 squared inches squared is a foot squared, a square foot. So a square foot is not 12 square inches. Okay? Warning, a square foot is not 12 square inches. Okay, so a square foot is not 12 square inches. Make sure you understand that. Okay, so that's what I'm establishing right here. So 12 squared inches squared is 1 square foot squared. So a square foot is not 12 square inches. A square foot is 144 square inches. We'll talk about that in a second. So how then do we convert inches to feet? Well, if we're converting inches to feet, we divide by 12, right? So if we had, let's say, 36 inches, that's 3 feet. 36 divided by 12 is 3. Okay, so for example, 36 inches divided by 12 equals 3 feet. Okay? So what happens for square inches to square feet? So if from inches to feet, we divide by 12. From square inches to square feet, let's divide by square 12. Wait, what? That's right. For square inches to square feet, let's divide by square 12, by 144. That's what's going to happen here. So remember, a square foot is not 12 square inches. A square foot is 144 square inches. Isn't that amazing? So a square foot is 144 square inches. That's important to remember. So we have to understand that. If that was confusing, let's go back, slow it down, hit pause, do some more examples for yourself, and you'll see in a little bit. Anyhow, back to the problem. If we have 11,680 inches squared, what then will be the answer in square feet? Well, if we're going from inches squared to feet squared, we have to divide by square 12. So let's do that. So if we're going to have 11,680 inches squared, we're going to divide by 12 squared. That will give us the number of square feet. Okay, that will give us the number of square feet. Now there's a way of seeing this in dimensional analysis, so I'll show this as well. 11,680 inches squared. We know that 1 foot is 12 inches. But we're talking about square feet, so we have to talk about another foot is 12 inches. So we can see the same thing happening in dimensional analysis. Our inches squared cancels, leaving us with feet squared. Okay, so the same dynamic is occurring. But either way, we will be calculating 11,680 divided by 144 will give us however many feet squared. Okay, that's either through dimensional analysis or knowing what you're doing. So we make our division calculation. We have this crazy, 81 point blah, 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 1. That's actually 1/9, by the way. When you see 1 repeating, that's 1/9. Isn't that cool? Did you know 1 repeating is 1/9? So 81.1 repeating. That's the same thing as 81 and 1/9 square feet of material, right? Which I don't think you can order 81 and 1/9 square feet of material. So you should probably order like 82 or 85 square feet of material, which however they sell it. But that's the point. So we had to talk about dimensions for this one, and that's pretty important. So hopefully you paid attention to that, learned some stuff, and let's do another example for triangle work, because this is pretty straightforward. So let's take a question that was super duper hard and follow it up with one that's pretty doable. So here, what's the area of this triangle? We have a base, we have a height, area. So 5 times 1 is 5, right? No, be careful. Dudes, inches, feet. So this is 5 inches for the height. The base is 12 inches. So we got to be careful. So the base is 12 inches. So we have 5 times 12, of course, is 60 square inches. Okay, so we have 60 square inches, but what if I asked for it in square feet? It'd be less than 1 square foot, right? How do you know it's less than 1 square foot? Because here's a foot here. A square foot would go up that way. This is less than a square foot. So anyway, 60 inches squared. And that is, that's it. That's it for area of a triangle. We'll call it a day. That was a lot to swallow. We'll come back and do area of irregular figures. I will see you later.